Models are the least confident people in terms of self-image. You see yourself all the time with a wonderful makeup, Photoshop in your skin, and you look at that picture and then you look at yourself in the mirror and it's not the same person. Almost all of my model friends have like a degree in something. And then I take my master's in marketing and consumer behavior.
And while you're doing this, are you modeling?
Yeah. I come from working all the time, filming commercials. Social media changed a lot the modeling industry. At the same time that it ruined many modeling careers, it helped me. The influencer side of things, it's not exactly about knowing your end goals. It's about just being yourself.
Would you be okay with your kids being models? Barbara.
Hi.
Welcome to Chai Tea with Mina D.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
so
you for
happy you're
having
here.
me.
Of course, absolutely. We're just gonna jump right in here, okay?
Okay,
Model.
let's do it.
Like I knew that when I walked in. Remember,
thank
I
you.
bumped into you right over there, and I'm like, oh, you're the model. You're the person I'm talking to today. Beautiful,
Thank you.
like gorgeous. In your opinion, what sets modeling apart from influencing?
I think that models have a more, how can I say that word without sounding not that approachable? Like you were not in sad, nobody tells you to be organic. Like
Okay.
it's a little bit more forced almost, I would say. Like you are posing to sell a product or you are posing with, let's say you have a moisturizer, like you're literally, here's the moisturizer, I have a wonderful skin, buy it. Like if you're an influencer, it's more about like, I woke up with this horrible skin, let's see how I solve it. So the modeling is more about, this is how I look, you want to look like me, you buy this product. Mm-hmm. And the influencer is more like, let's solve this problem that I have together. And if it works for me, it will work for you.
Do you find influencers to be more relatable
For sure.
than models?
Yeah, for sure.
In your opinion, what's like a huge misconception about models?
That they're all dumb, for sure.
Oh,
Yes.
is there any other ones? I feel like that's a very common one. You're right. Like people think there's no brains there.
And it's very interesting that almost all of my model friends have like a degree in something. And people have no idea about that. Also, models normally speak at least 2 or 3 languages because traveling so much and coming from different countries. So yeah, that's the biggest one. And I think another one people probably don't think about is probably we are the least confident people in terms of self-image, because you see yourself all the time with a wonderful makeup and then someone did an amazing job doing Photoshop in your skin and you look at that picture and then you look at yourself in the mirror and it's not the same person. So that creates a lot of confusion.
So
in how you
instead
look
of
at yourself.
having like body images, comparing yourself to other girls, which I do, we all do it, right? Like
For sure.
But I'm not comparing myself to myself. I'm comparing myself to other girls.
Yeah.
Models compare themselves to the version that's here versus the version that's edited.
A lot of times.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very hard. Of course, it's becoming a little less heavy, I would say, with the body positive movement. And I do it because I think it's also something a little political, right? Like they say body positive, but then, for example, I am not super tall. Mm-hmm. So then I can't do this or that job. But then if you're famous and you're not that tall, then it's fine. Or if you're famous and you're not that skinny, it's fine. So it depends on who you're talking about, right? That's why I say it's body positive, depending on what is your goal with that.
I see that a lot. Like you'll see very, very famous influencers, and this is no shade to them. I'm just saying like you'll see people with a huge following, big time influencers, like lifestyle, and then they're like walking their own way. Great. Like I think that should be allowed. But then what about the girls who are models? This is their career. This is what they've been wanting to do their whole life, or this is their livelihood, and they've just been thrown into it. But they don't get that job because they're not tall enough. But this influencer over here was 5'5" or 5'6", and now she's walking the runway. Yeah. I could totally see that. That's not fair.
Yeah, it happens a lot though. And also the numbers, like how many followers you have.
Yeah.
A lot of brands care about it. Others don't even look into your Instagram.
Yeah.
So social media changed a lot the industry,
Do
for
you
sure.
think that there's still a place for models? Like, do you think they
Yeah.
could be phased out because of influencers now stepping in?
I think it depends a lot. I feel like most brands still need models to create things like their lookbook, for example, which is the plain picture of the model wearing it back, side, and front. Also, like commercials, a lot of times you have the models slash actress, like actresses that are not necessarily on TV in terms of not in, like in TV shows, or but they're doing TV commercials. They're also models. So I think a lot of people will understand this in terms of when you get a camera to film a story, a lot of people do it super easy and other people just can't do it. It's super hard to talk to the camera. Some people is like, I can't, I'm not, no, I don't like this. I'm going to film it again. I can't. And for other people, it's super easy. So that's also part of like the modeling thing that is different from the influencing.
Okay.
I feel like we are more prepared to sell a product in a certain way.
Models are.
In models,
Okay.
yeah. And then in the influencer side of things, it's not exactly about knowing your angles or knowing the angle of the camera or knowing what looks good. It's about just being yourself and just being spontaneous. So
Yeah.
I think it's two separate things. For sure, social media changed a lot the modeling industry, mainly with like UGC, which is the user generated content.
What is that exactly? UGC?
So this is basically instead of me hiring, let's say I have a cosmetic brand. Instead of hiring a photographer and then a whole crew and having all the setup, I just send this product to a person and she will at her house film this in a super organic way.
Okay.
And then she sends me the content and I use this content. So
Okay.
instead of costing me $10,000, it costs me 200.
Got it.
So why would I want to?
Right.
Right.
Okay. You grew up in Brazil.
Brazil.
How was it growing up in Brazil?
It was nice. I think Brazil has a lot of family values. Like we have a lot of like different from the U.S. where I feel everybody's hustling and working, and we are like Sundays you spend with your family and you have a barbecue and everybody's together. So it was very nice to grow up with this dynamic.
I did not get to experience that because I was born here, but a lot of people, including my family, tell me all the time, like, when you are raised in a different country, most countries, there is a sense of community.
Yes.
You do go to work and you do have a career and you do have these things, but you look forward to coming home and like meeting up with your friends for coffee or like going outside and, you know, everyone's sitting and chitter chattering, like, you know, in a piazza type place, like like they do in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Or like your neighbors are knocking on your door and coming to your house, or everything's like sporadic. Whereas in America, I feel as though I say this to Brian all the time, I'm like, we get in a box. Well, no, we wake up in a box, which is the house, right? You get in a box, which is your car, to go to a box, which is where you work. And you do the same thing over just to come back and sit. Whereas in other countries, and this is what friends and like my family have always told me, is like, you go home, but you have family, you have extended family, you have grandparents, grandmas, you have cousins, aunts and uncles. And even though you have those family, of course, people have family members here, they're not as intertwined in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Everything has to be planned or scheduled, or it's more formal here, I guess, and
Yeah.
more alone in some ways. But, and this is like, you know, neither here nor there, it's just not a very loving environment, I feel.
No.
When it comes to, because
it's
when you compare
mind-driven.
yes, when you compare the two and talk to somebody like you who was raised in a different country, you're like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And this is a side note. I was reading this the other day that there's the rise of autoimmune diseases in people in America is a lot due to the fact that you sit home and eat alone. You know, socializing and loving and engaging with each other. You're sitting by yourself watching TV, or you're still working, you know, because
Yeah.
we have that hustle mentality and I have to do this. So it's like, has that effect on your mind and your gut? And it's like a
And
whole study done.
everything,
It was
for sure.
very fascinating to see. Did you always have an interest in modeling, or were there any other career
Yeah, so since I
aspirations?
was like 5,
Mm-hmm.
for what I remember,
Mm-hmm.
I liked posing for the camera. I was always like shy,
Mm-hmm.
but if my mom got the camera to take a picture, I would always be like posing, but like as a kid, of course, like little poses.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked that. And I was very, very, very skinny. So sometimes I would suffer like the bullying, typical bullying, like, you're too skinny, this and that. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm so skinny. I don't like being skinny. And one aunt, she told me, so look at all the supermodels. They're skinny. You're going to be a supermodel like them. You are our supermodel. So I guess that somehow that also like stayed in the back of my mind. And as I was growing up, I always had that, I don't know, like naturally, if I'm in front of the camera, I will
You're on.
have like a pose or a mood or something will just change inside of me. So yeah, I think I always wanted to.
Did your aunt have a lot of influence in you choosing to be a model?
I'm not sure. Like, I don't think she had like a lot of influence, but I do remember a lot that she would always say that. Like, she would be the one who would always support, for sure.
And how old were you when you started this?
So when I was 12, I started doing some classes, but I wasn't doing any paid jobs because
This was
that
in
phase,
Brazil.
yeah,
Okay.
that phase is kind of like, if you pay attention, you don't really see a lot of kids. Like, it's either like kids, small kids, or like a little older, 18 years old. Like, you don't see a lot of teenager in the modeling industry. So I was just learning a lot of things. And then when I was 16, I started actually getting like paid jobs in my hometown.
And you were still in Brazil. How was the family dynamic with you growing up? Like your siblings, your parents, were they supportive? Were they loving or were they strict? Like, how was that?
So my family was always supportive of what I wanted to do as long as I kept studying. So he was always like,
Okay.
oh, you want to be a model? It's okay, but this is your hobby. Remember, that is a hobby. You're going to study, you're going to go to school, you're going to get a degree. So I can't say that they weren't supportive because like my mom would travel with me to like another cities to kind of see agencies and help me to live this dream. But at the same time, there was the commitment of not letting them down because I had to study.
'Cause you just-
Like, don't forget that this, okay, we will let you do it, but like, it's kind of like a game you're playing. It's not necessarily something that we want you to do for your life.
Like they weren't taking it super serious for
Yeah.
you. Was there ever a moment where you were like, no, this is all I want to do?
There was a moment when I finished my master's, and in this room where I was presenting my final conclusion, I don't know how you say that in English, the final presentation that you have to do for your master's to get the
Like the
degree.
last test or
Yeah, basically something like that. I remember they were all, yeah, we're so proud of you. You did so good, like the professors at the university. And we would like to offer you a PhD in Paris, everything paid for, this and that. And my parents were sitting there in the audience, and I could see they were like their dream, right? I go, oh my God. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no, thank
No,
you.
I've done enough. I'm going to Mexico now, and I'm going to leave my dream, at least for a little bit. I need to live my life.
Wow. Okay. So you started modeling, just to backtrack a little bit. It was 12, you started to like dip your toes into it in your hometown in Brazil.
Yeah.
Then you were 17 and you went to 16, you went to.
When I was 16, I started getting some paid jobs. And then because one agency saw me, they took me to China.
Is this common?
It is very common.
You go to China for
Yes,
this?
it's very common. So when I was 17 already, 1 year after, because I was waiting to finish high school, I went to China. And China back then, like that's a while ago, it was the school of models, they would say, because everything is so fast. You have to learn to be very fast. They pay per hour, which today is a little bit more common, but back then nobody would pay per hour, just China. So they want you to be fast, and they teach you to be fast. So you will go to a casting, and let's say here you go, you arrive, they tell you, oh, we just want a few pictures of you, normal pictures, just smile, turn around, do this, do that. There, they don't even have a photographer. They will tell you, show pose, meaning you just do like a little choreography of how many poses you can do. And it's something that you just learn it. And you just change your hands or you change your the way you look or whatever. You just have to do a lot of fast poses, like a little robot.
But it's kind of like what models do, right? Like when I've seen this like behind the scenes sometimes.
Yeah.
Models, the camera's clicking and people
And
are
you're just, like,
screaming,
moving
and
and
girls are
doing
just like
the-
they're just nonstop moves. So that's what
Yeah.
you're doing with no direction.
Exactly. And
Oh,
with
wow.
like a lot of people watching it.
And you're like 16, 17 at this
Yeah.
point.
It's scary, but you
And
get
there were
over
other
it.
girls with you too,
Yeah.
right? Were your parents okay with you going?
So I remember that my parents are divorced, right?
Okay.
So I remember that when I told my mom that I got this opportunity, she was like, ah, okay, you want to do it? Let's do it. Okay, right? She goes with me. She goes to this other city to sign the contract and to meet this agency that is not the agency that I'm going to, but it's the agency who talks to the agency that I'm going to. So it's called a moderate agency.
Okay.
And then to meet everyone, to make sure everything is okay and is legit, right? And then my dad, I told him a lot of times, like, Dad, I'm going to China, Dad, I'm going to China. He was like, yeah. And then when I went to say goodbye, he was like, oh, you're really going? Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, I am going.
Yeah.
So I went, and I went by myself. So I met this girl that was also going in another city. Like, we took her flights together, but I've never saw her before. So it's not like she was my friend or anything. And when I got there, I was normal. Like, I was confident. I was happy. I'm like, wow, I'm going to live in China. It's going to be fun. When I got there, first I arrived in Hong Kong. So everything is fine. Because, like, Hong Kong is more like modern. It's different.
Modern.
And then I go to Guangzhou, which is the city I was leaving. And I just look at everything. Everything is in Chinese. Nobody speaks English. People were just like,
Huge culture shock.
yeah, just walking fast, and it smelled weird, and it was so like the air, you couldn't see the sky or anything. And then I'm okay. I think now I'm here. And when I arrived in the apartment, I started crying. And then I called my mom, like, I don't like it in here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just arrived, imagine. And my mom's like, what do I do? You're in China. Like, it's going to go away. Like, give it a try. Stay there, you know. So then 2 days later, I was already okay. Like, I was happy to be there, but it was a very big challenge. Like, I
What were
kept
some
suffering.
of the, what were some of, like, I mean, I would imagine 16, 17, my gosh, I look back and I think my biggest worry was, you know, am I going to get a car, and what car am I going to get, and get my driver's license? Like, that's all I was thinking about at 16, 17.
yeah.
Like, you know, like what were, I'm assuming language barrier,
Yes.
food maybe.
Yes. So the language barrier was a thing. Someone from the agency would be with us. So then, for example, let's say you're going to a casting, there's the driver that is taking everyone. And then a booker, which is the person that works at the agency, will go and introduce you to the client. So you don't have to do any talking.
Okay.
That's normally not how it happens. This is like, this country is where they know you kind of need help, right? But then if you book a job, the same day you have to go to the agency, they will give you a paper, and this paper will have like the address of where you're going, everything in Chinese. And then you just go to the street, get a cab anywhere, and show them where you have to go. And then, you know, you just pray for it. You just pray for it, and hopefully they will take me to the right place. And that's it. And imagine back then, there's no smartphones or Google Maps or anything like
You
that.
can't, sometimes like I have to like track. I'm like, is this person
Exactly.
taking me to the right place? Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's so scary.
Yeah, it wasn't. For me, I come from a small city. And then my first experience living abroad was in a city of over 10 million people. So
What was it like making friends?
it wasn't even something I was thinking about. But now that you say it, it wasn't easy because I am very different than the people that I met there. So they used to call me grandma because I wouldn't go to parties, I wouldn't go out, like I don't drink a lot. Back then I didn't drink at all. So I was like, because the drinking age in Brazil is 18 also, so. But I wouldn't drink at all. And they were like, oh, she's so boring, she's the grandma. And you live with these people and they all the time, they want to talk about these things and smoke and you're just like not vibing with that. So I was alone a lot of the time, but I also I'm very curious and I like to go out and explore the city and try to find new things. Not what I do every day, going to castings and then we can go into party. Like, I don't like that. I want to know, like, I'm here, I'm probably not coming back. So I want to absorb the culture. So I would do a lot of things by myself, but I would say that it wasn't easy to make friends, but I wasn't really concerned.
You
Like it
weren't
wasn't
even
my goal
thinking
to
about
make
it.
friends there. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Looking back, do you feel like there's anything that you could have done more, or are you happy with how you handled China at that age?
If I knew that that was going to be the most important experience of my life, I think I would have been a little bit more chill because I was very tense all of the time because of the food, because of the challenges, because like I never live with other people besides my family, of course. And then now I live with these people from other cultures that I don't know. And how do I deal with that? And I don't like this bathroom and the kitchen is dirty.
Yeah.
And everything was just making me tense and tense and tense.
Probably very stimulated too,
Yeah.
because of like all the changes. And
Yeah.
China's a very stimulating, like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I can even imagine. Now, when you say you're living with these people, are you living with these girls and they're from all over the world?
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. So
Like, how many girls in your?
first I lived with 6 people.
Oh,
They were
wow.
all from Brazil.
Oh wow.
And then I moved to another apartment and it was this girl from Ukraine
Okay.
and another one, I don't remember where she's from, but like that same region. And one of them, like we talk until today, like it's been 15 years and we eventually talk. And the other one, she was so funny because she was like, well, I have a boyfriend here. I have a boyfriend in Taiwan. I
Oh.
have a boyfriend in Turkey. Like, you should do the same, you know? And then I just asked this guy for this and that guy for that. And I'm 17, coming from a small town, and I have very strict values. Listening to that person, I was like, that's my roommate.
It sounds like some.
Okay.
It sounds like a city I know. It sounds like Miami a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you've worked all over the world, right? What would you say is the most difficult city or country that you've worked in?
Here, definitely.
Really?
For my profile, yes. Because the US is like, it's funny. For example, in Mexico, they like a person to be like just a little different from society, right? Or like in Brazil, a little like a normal type of beauty. And I feel like here is like for modeling, for the modeling standard, you have to be super tall or you have to be super skinny or like you have to have thick eyebrows and a small nose and big lips. And there's like all this rules of how you have to look or how people, like what are brands looking for here much more than in other countries. So I remember when I was in Mexico and the director of Victoria's Secret started following me and I was like, oh my God, that means I'm gonna be a Victoria's Secret angel. And then I'm like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen.
So you say it's harder for models to work in America
Yeah,
because of this beauty standards that we have here.
yeah,
Okay, I'm on the other side of this, right? I'm like a consumer or someone
yeah,
who's not a model. Let's say that. In the last, I would say, 5 to 8 years, started to notice a big shift in people in America and campaigns and marketing being more inclusive of all body shapes and sizes. So what I see is you don't have to be that tall. It's okay to be overweight, or it's okay to be pear-shaped, or this or that. You know, like I see all these
yeah.
things. Do you think that that's still misconstrued to us because it's trying to get us to be consumers? Whereas
Absolutely.
what goes on inside within the modeling industry is probably like, but the girls who are tall and skinny and fluffy eyebrows and tiny noses are the ones that actually get the big contracts and the
Yeah.
big jobs.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think that there are some brands who genuinely want that more approachable look and they want like a curvy model or they want people that look more normal, as they say. But some of them do it because they have to do it. So they will look for the different person. And then you are not that different to be the different person, but you are not that tall to be the aspirational tall model. So this is where social media comes as a savior for the
Okay.
career, let's say. Because then you use social media to kind of like help you to
Put yourself out there.
provide
Okay.
in terms of like work. Yeah.
There is a big chunk of models who utilize social media
Yeah.
to also make an income for themselves.
Yeah.
But also be able to, I think, also be able to put yourself out there in a different light that maybe
Yeah.
casting people can't see in you, right? But then when you showcase a different side of you online, it probably opens other doors and opportunities.
Yeah, a
So
lot.
I can see that because there's a lot of models that are influencers too. A lot of
For
models
sure.
who are in social media too. Like I see that all the time. So you're in China, you did your thing. You go back to Brazil though at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
What was it, within a year?
So I was supposed to stay 4 months in China and 4 months in Thailand, but I couldn't go to Thailand. It was too much for me. I was like, something inside of me, I was like, I've had enough. Like, I can't keep going. This is too much. I don't want to go. And then I canceled that contract.
Okay.
And I go back to Brazil. And then I moved away from my parents anyway, because I go to school. And then I start studying international business. And then I stay there. I studied for 4 years. And then I take my master's in marketing consumer behavior.
This is all in Brazil.
Yeah.
And how old are you when you went back to Brazil?
So it's still 18, because I
18.
turned 18 in
Okay.
China.
So you went, finished school, even master's. And while you're doing this, are you modeling?
Yeah.
Oh, you're still modeling. Okay.
Yeah, I kept modeling, like, of course, not full time, but whenever I had a chance, I would go and do my thing.
I think my main question here would be, were you going to school because you wanted to go to school, or were you doing it because your parents were like, education
I
first?
wanted to go. I wanted to go. I've always been like very curious. So for me, learning, like still today, if I could just leave out of learning, that's what I would do for a living, because I love learning new things. So actually, it was kind of a fight because before I lived to China, I wanted to study medicine. So I wanted to go to med school. And then I take all of these things to China, all of these books to study for the test. And okay, I'm going to China, but I'm coming back and I'm going to school. Okay, fine. And then I come back and I tell them, listen, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. So now it turns out I want to study international business. And in my hometown, it's like, what the hell is international
What is
business?
that?
What are you going to do with that? You're not going to have any jobs with that. But why? Where did this come from? And my parents, they're both at that moment directors at a university in our hometown. So if I were to pass the test, I would get 80% discount in anything I would want to study.
Oh, okay.
And then now I decide that I want to move to another city to pay more for a thing that they don't even know what that is. So it was kind of like a fight for me to say, like, please, like, I need to do this for myself. Like, I somehow understood that this is what I want to do. So please let me go. And then it was, after a few fights, they were like, okay, go.
And so you pursued international business there
Yeah.
and finished your master's. When you're done with your master's, that's when you said you were getting your last thing and you could get all these things and you're like, no, I don't want to do school anymore, right?
Yeah.
That was after your master's, because now you know for sure you want to model full time.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. So what did you do after your master's?
So then I went to Mexico, because funny thing is, like, when I was in China, my dad was at the dentist office in Brazil. And my dad, he doesn't really talk to people randomly out of nowhere, but that day he saw something on the TV on the waiting room about China and said, like, out loud, oh, my daughter is in China. And then this woman next to him says, well, my daughter is in China too. And he's like, oh, no way, my daughter is a model. Well, my daughter is a model too. And then they kind of like connected us. I met this girl, and the only thing she told me the whole time I was in China, the only time I saw her, she said, what are you doing here? You should go to Mexico. That's all she said. And then she connected me to this agency in Mexico. But for international modeling, normally they pay for your tickets. They pay for you, like, to stay in the apartment that they have. And as you work, you pay them back. But if you stay less than 4 or 5 months, you normally not going to make money enough to pay them back. And they know it. So they have a minimum time. So the minimum is like 4 or 5 months. And I was in school when I came back from China, so I didn't have 4 or 5 months to just go to Mexico, right? So I finished my master's, and I had this period of time that I couldn't really do anything. And I said, okay, that's the moment. I'm going to Mexico now. Let's see what happens. And I was supposed to stay 4 or 5 months, and I ended up staying for 5 years.
In Mexico?
In Mexico,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Would you say that was like the height of your
For sure.
career or
1000%.
like your moment. And how
Yeah.
old were you at this time?
22, 23.
22, 23. Did you like Mexico?
I love it.
Yeah.
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 I love it so much. I miss
How
it a
was
lot.
life in Mexico?
Life in Mexico was much better than life in China.
Oh,
I can
okay.
tell you that.
We're making moves.
So it's funny because I met so many girls coming to Mexico and being challenged by the culture difference. But I have been to China at that moment and I'm like, that's so easy. That's so normal. I'm so happy here. What are you talking about? So it was different for me. I was much more confident. I was older. I was working a lot. So that also gave me a lot of confidence and feeling like, okay, I belong here. People like me here. So this starts to work. I start getting more followers on social media. These people like me. They comment on my stuff. They want to know about my life. So I definitely had like a very different experience in Mexico. And people are so nice. The culture is amazing. I think there are like some little problems with like misogynistic men and, these little things here and there, but every country has something, right?
Every
You're
country
never
has a
going to
problem.
find,
Yeah.
yeah. And honestly, people ask me a lot about safety, but I felt safer in Mexico than a lot of times in Brazil. So I really had like a great time.
How's your personal life going at this point in Mexico? You're in your 20s, you're done with school, you're modeling, like,
Yeah. So I had a lot of friends. We were like four roommates and we were like the best friends. And then the owner of the agency and his wife were also super good friends. And his brother. So we were like a big family. We would hang out every day. We would like just do travel, do different things, everything together. It was amazing. It was like, those moments of your life that you look back, like that was the
that
moment.
was a good time.
Yeah.
That was like a really good time. Were you into partying yet at all?
We would go out, but I was never like that type of
That just
person
never came.
yeah.
Okay. What about boyfriends, husbands,
So
fiancés?
I had a boyfriend when I moved to Mexico. He was like a very nice person to me and everything, but I just felt like it's not my time to be in a relationship
Like
like
locked
this.
down.
Yes. So then I had like this period of being single in Mexico, working a lot. It was super fun. I was feeling myself. And I was also living this moment, which I think every model goes through, that is like, I want to post whatever picture I want. And I don't care if, like you want to do the topless, but like stuff like that. And I want to be extra sexy and I don't care. You don't judge me. It's like that. I don't know. It's like a freedom moment for a model. And I had that moment. And then I started dating this Mexican guy. And we dated for like 2 years until I moved here to Miami. And this is when also I got a lot of followers because he was like a famous person. He is a famous person in Mexico. So I got a lot of followers from his fans, basically, for his
Because
fan
he's
base.
okay. You guys are linked together, and now people are following you too. And okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were already posting, having your moments.
Yeah.
Now you are also moving in circles of a little bit like celebrity like people, right?
Yeah.
And now you start to get a following. I can only imagine.
Yeah. It was
How'd you
complicated.
how'd you handle the hate?
So I don't think I handled it the way I would today.
Okay.
It was very complicated at the beginning, especially because I'm a people pleaser, right? So as a people pleaser, you don't do anything wrong. And then people hate you. And it's like, why do you hate me? I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And then you want to justify yourself. Like, oh, I don't.
Over explaining.
Yeah. Like, oh, I hate your eyeshadow. No, wait a minute. But why do you hate my eyeshadow? You can't hate my eyeshadow. I picked it because you like it. So it was very hard for me, especially because the reasons why people would hate me didn't make any sense, right? So sometimes they would accuse me. I remember this one time that I went on a trip. It had nothing to do with the guy. Like I went to Fashion Week with another girl that is also influencer, very close friends to me. And we went on a trip with this brand to New York. And people are like, you would never be able to afford this trip if it wasn't for him. I'm like,
people in your
nothing
comments
to
said
do.
this to you.
Like the guy has nothing to do with it. But there I am. Well, actually, this trip was paid by this company. That is, why do I have to explain that?
That
right?
is such a big I don't know what you call it, problem, issue, red flag, whatever, in social media where I don't know why people don't do this to men. People do this to women more. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm saying this, that when you have something nice or you are somewhere going somewhere nice or you're on a vacation or you have like a handbag or something, people automatically say she has that because of him.
Yeah.
He took her there.
Yeah.
He bought her that.
Yeah.
As if, well, maybe I was working for it.
Yeah.
Maybe my company paid for it. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe I had this before he even came into, you know what I mean? Like there's just so much, and I don't know why as a society, and I feel like that's in a lot of that's not just America, that's like everywhere. I don't know why it's like that.
Yeah, I don't understand either.
Does it make them feel better that I don't know what it is?
I
And
don't
would
know.
you say you have more men haters at the time or was it females?
No, females for sure.
That makes me so
I
sad.
think I had a very weird situation with a male hater, but he thought he was my boyfriend. I don't know who told him. I don't know where like he got that from. This guy would DM me every day.
And
But
and you're dating the famous guy at this point.
Yeah. No, lying. It was here already. The guy was just DM me all the time. And I'm like, okay. And then one day I post something with my current fiance and he's like, oh, you cheated on me. And the guy just goes on my comments because he wouldn't. He would just send me DMs and I would never even look at it because it was like on, that other section of hidden comments.
Yeah.
And the guy freaked out saying like, I don't go out with women who have a man and you betrayed me. And he was super hurt, but like commenting on all of my posts.
But you never saw him, you never met him, and you never hung out with him. You never
I have no idea who the guy is. The guy doesn't, he was like from Uruguay, something like that.
That is so scary.
People are creepy. Yeah.
In your time in Mexico, was there ever a time where you had to deal with, is there a time that stands out to you that was maybe not so positive?
So I remember this about the hate. This one girl that she sent me a screenshot of her talking to a witch or something, wishing that me and all of my family burn in hell.
A witch?
Yeah, like something like that. Like these people that do like this
Like
type
voodoo
of
and
voodoo
like,
stuff.
yeah.
But she sent like a screenshot talking to this person. And then she sent a picture of me all like shredded, like a picture of me in a magazine, shredded and all like, I hate you. I'm like,
is this through a DM, a text? You don't know her?
No, through DM, I don't know her. And actually, I was known at that moment for answering all these DMs, all these comments, and making the girls, the ones who liked me, making them feel like they had an older sister, making them feel like they had someone to talk to.
So you were engaging with people and people,
Exactly.
so even the haters were like, she might engage.
Yeah.
So let me try to get her attention.
Yeah, and I even noticed that after this same girl, she would create new profiles every time I blocked her. And she would oscillate from, Barbara, you're my best friend, I love you, to like this super hateful comments. And then I finally understood that when she said something bad, I would engage more than when she says something nice.
That's why she.
So, it's like, well, I need her attention regardless if it's good or bad. I'm going to just get her attention.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd that
People are
end?
weird.
Did you like?
So she still comments on my pictures. And now she loves me.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, that girl's still around.
She's not a model, right? She's just like a
No,
fan.
she's like a person. I don't
She's a
even know
girl
because a lot
fan.
of times they put like a name and then they use pictures of like a famous person, whatever, on their profile. So if I see her, I don't even know who she is. But I do remember that vividly. And her name still comes up. So I know that even if I block her like 1,000 times, she will find a way. So I'm like, whatever, I'm done with that.
Oh my gosh, that isn't. And she still comments, but you don't engage now. You don't even care.
No, I don't say anything.
You shouldn't.
I let her exist.
Yeah, you shouldn't. If you were to look back at do you still model?
Yeah.
Okay. So up to this point, if you look back on your career, what was the most difficult moment? Like a specific time, a specific event, or an altercation or something? Like what was like the hardest moment for you?
The hardest moment of my career so far was definitely when I moved here, because I was very confident when I moved to the US, because coming from Mexico, being like, I was growing so fast and people knew who I was. So, I was living a great moment in my career and I thought this can only get better, right? Like moving to the US, there's more opportunities. There's these great agencies that I'm be working with and big clients. And like I said, I had like this marketing director, Victoria's Secret is following me. Like, it's so many opportunities. I'm going to make this work. Okay. Then I got here, and the booker from the agency that I was with, she hated me. She blocked me on Instagram. She said I was so unprofessional. Because I reached out to photographers to have like test shoots, which are like photos for the agency. So it's not like I'm asking them to give me work and like not pay the agency.
Okay.
She just hated me.
Okay.
And she started being super mean, said horrible things about me to everybody in the agency. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Because this is the person who has the contact of Victoria's Secret. This is the person who has the contact of Guess and all these big brands. And now she hates me.
So she just got mad at you because you wanted to get the shots done for the agency.
Yeah, because when I was still in Mexico, I like proactively stalked her basically to see who she followed in terms of like which photographers I think that she likes, so I can get some pictures from them. And then when I arrive at the agency, she will already like my portfolio.
Yeah, that's a smart thing to do.
I was trying to be proactive.
Yeah.
And I think one of these people maybe misunderstood what I was trying to say, or she misunderstood what the person said and someone wanted to confirm with her, like, is this girl actually in your agency?
Oh.
Something like that. And she freaked out. And then
Called you and yelled at you? Like,
yeah, she blocked me. She sent me a bunch of texts saying like how unprofessional I was and then models don't do that. And then, after that, I just know that we had like a Christmas party and I went and talked to her. I said like, listen, I think it was a misunderstanding. I just don't want this energy. I don't think this is nice. And she was like, no, don't worry. Everything's okay. I just think you need to update your pictures a little bit and then you'll be able to work very well.
well, that's what you were trying to do.
And then she just said like horrible things about me that like, what do you have to say about me? You don't even know me, right? But she just said horrible things about me to the other bookers. And then I know that I never really got to work as I expected in that beginning. And then COVID hits. So then it's like, I come from working all the time, filming commercials, from being super confident because, if I go to this casting, I'm going to book it. I'm okay. To now being like, am I even a model? Like, who told me I'm a model? Like, I'm not a model, actually. Am I? Like, what am I doing here?
Did you move here for that reason?
Yeah.
Okay, so you came here for work thinking this would further your career, and immediately this is the roadblock you hit.
Yeah.
All over a big misunderstanding, and then COVID hits.
And then COVID hits.
Did you bounce back from all of this?
Yeah. Eventually, I had to figure it out how to make it work. And I noticed that this is where social media, at the same time that it ruined many modeling careers, it helped me in that moment. Because if it wasn't for social media, I don't even know what I was going to do. Because I moved here. So imagine that you're an immigrant, but your visa is not a working visa in terms of like, you don't have a salary. Nobody knows how much money you're going to make, if you're going to make any money. So how do you rent an apartment?
Yeah, you need to prove all that stuff. Yeah.
So my landlord said, yeah, I can rent it for you, but you need to pay me 6 months in advance. And I love that apartment so much. And I said, you know what? This is all the money I have. But okay, I'm going to do it. And I moved here with $850 in my bank account. Like, of course, I had some money to receive from previous jobs, but like, that's what I had. And I'm like, it's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work. I'm going to make it work. And then I kind of had to figure it out because I had nobody. It's not like you move in with a boyfriend or you have friends here or you have someone to support you. Like, I was completely alone. It was COVID. There was no jobs happening. My agency was not sending me jobs. I wasn't with anybody else. It was by myself.
Was this, you moved to Miami? Mexico straight to Miami?
Yeah.
How do you navigate the pressures, or how did you, or how do you still navigate the pressures around body image and the industry expectations?
For me, that's very complicated because I come from a house where my mom always had like a hard time accepting her image. So how do you learn how to love yourself if this is how you were brought up, right?
So you're a young girl living in Brazil. How do you know that your mom has a hard time accepting herself?
She had a lot of plastic surgeries.
So this was normal for you to see.
Yeah, like I was a lot of times I think I thought like, okay, if you don't like this about yourself, just change it. Just have a plastic surgery and change it.
That's
So
how she kind of, okay, I see.
so I grew up always thinking like, oh, I hate my nose. I'm just going to have a plastic surgery when I can. But then you hate everything about yourself. You're always finding something that you don't like. And then you work in an industry where your body and your face is what you work with. So you're constantly criticizing yourself much more than you would if you didn't work with that, right? So I had times where I just stopped eating sugar at all, stop eating any type of like gluten at all, no alcohol, no anything, like no fun, basically. And then I got super skinny and I was super fit and then this and that. But I was extremely unhappy because I couldn't even like have like a social life. Like I would go out with my friends and like, what you gonna have? A salad. Oh, there's a dressing. I'm not gonna eat it. Right. And then also like you become that annoying friend, right? Like you become that person that I never wanted to be that person. So I also, for hormonal things, I always oscillate a lot. Like I get a lot of weight, I lose a lot of weight, and I'm never like always in the same weight. Like I tend to change a lot. And that was also like a challenge for me because how do I accept that this is just how I am instead of always fighting like now I need to get some weight because I lost a lot of weight. Then I get weight and oh my God, okay, now I got too much weight, I need to lose some. Or like now my hair is too blonde or now my hair is too dark. And now my eyebrows are not fluffy and this is what is trendy now. So how do I get my eyebrows to be? It's very hard to navigate that. But I think that what helps me is when I have a picture of myself when I was 5 years old in my closet. And I think that helps me because like I look at her and I'm like, every time you're criticizing yourself, you're criticizing her.
Yeah. You have to like look back on her and say, I love you and I think you're beautiful
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
everything worked out in your life and you became this great top model.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there was nothing ever wrong with you, you know? And it's just, do you feel that growing up in a home where your mom had these different opinions and standards of beauty on herself also kind of affected you when earlier you mentioned that you started to compare your real image of yourself with the edited images of yourself?
Yeah.
Or do you think that's common across the board with all models?
I think it's common, but I think it was special in my case because there's
Probably heightened for
always,
you.
yeah, there's always been this extreme sense of perfection of like, okay, but if I look like this before, why don't I look like this now? Like I need to keep fighting to look like this because my goal is like if one day I did this makeup and my nose looked like this, so I can make that happen again. I need to do that makeup again. How do I do that? How do I get that light? Or if one day my hair was kind of like this color was better for me and now it's slightly different. I don't like it. I need to go and get that again. Or whatever, my body, the way my abs looked is just always constantly trying to get to this point. And I have the habit to look at my story archives on Instagram to kind of remember what I was doing 5 years ago the same day. And then I look at myself and I'm like, wow, I was hating myself so much this day. And look, I looked great.
I do the same.
What am I doing?
I have done that before where I'll look on my story, my highlights, and go back to a few years and be like, oh God, I look so young. But I remember that at that
Feeling
time,
awful.
I was feeling like I was still criticizing and judging myself then. And look at 10 years later, I'm still doing the same thing. And it's like, it's one of those moments that, like, I think unfortunately, only with time and experience and age do we understand that there's always going to be something that we may not be accepting of, but why harp on it?
Yeah.
Why are we living there? You don't have to live there, you know? And like you said, reminding ourselves and that little girl in you, like you are beautiful and like look at all that you've accomplished and done and you're worthy regardless. Whatever you look like, it
Exactly.
doesn't matter. Like you're born, you're here for a reason and a purpose and you're worthy. External beauty is, yes, we all want it and we all want to do whatever we can in our power to become that. But I think with time we learn that there's more, but it's harder, I think, for people in your industry because
Yeah.
it's in your face
All the time.
24/7.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that. Like your whole life and work revolves around it, you know? To make it a little bit lighter. I'm sure girls are like have every girl wants to know the tips and tricks from models, I feel like, okay? And I was talking to somebody this morning and I was telling them that I was interviewing you. And she said, please ask her, what do models do to have a flat stomach and not be bloated? And I was like, okay.
Well, I don't know, honestly.
That was like the
I don't
biggest
know.
thing. And a couple people were like kind of like dabbling into this. And I was like, okay, let's ask.
I think it's genetics play a very important role here because for me, it's like when I get weight, it's always on my legs. Like I never get
You don't get on your stomach.
like stomach fat. And if I do, it goes just to the front. I don't get like layers of
Right.
fat, you know?
Right.
And I see most of the models just have that. You don't have a lot of fat in your abs. Like I don't think anybody does anything
So you're saying
special.
you're saying you're
honestly.
a
I'm
model
sorry.
because you don't have any fat on your
I'm
stomach.
sorry. It's like just how it is. I don't think there's any special tricks, but like, of course, I've seen, for example, when I was in São Paulo in Brazil, for so these girls were on Fashion Week. I wasn't. I was just visiting the agency, and I saw that they were like for 3 days they were only drinking coffee. So they would be like skinny and not bloated all the time. Do I want to do this? I'm not interested, but if anyone wants to do it,
So coffee and nothing else, huh?
yeah,
Wow. That's unreal.
I don't recommend though.
No, we're not condoning that kind of behavior. No, we're just asking. Can you tell me some crazy things that you've seen happen aside from the coffee?
I've seen girls like just having like a lollipop, so they had something to
Chew
like
or
chew on,
okay.
or even like gum, anything that just put on their mouth so they have a distraction, like pretend that they're eating.
Okay.
But the lollipop specifically got my attention because they would just have a little bit of that, put back in the little wrapping paper, and then put it away, and then go again and just have a little bit of that. So then they could have like a little bit of sugar to keep them going through the day.
Oh, it's for the okay.
So that's crazy. I think that's the craziest thing I've seen.
I'm sure you had your diets, ups and downs, and you mentioned like hormonal changes because of that now, whatnot. How are you with all of that today?
So I had this period of time where I didn't want to eat this, didn't want to eat that. I was trying to be perfect,
Right.
skin, perfect body, perfect this and that. And I just gave up on that because at the end of the day, you know what you have to eat. So you pay hundreds of dollars to someone to tell you what to eat and make a plan for you. Like, you know what you have to
But
eat.
you know, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Yeah. Call them out. That's right. You already know.
Yeah.
And today you're good. Like you eat
I eat everything.
everything
I
within.
eat pizzas
Yeah.
on Friday. Like I can have a whole pizza by myself if it's the case. It's fine. I don't
I
have
hope
a problem.
everyone's listening to that. You can eat the damn pizza, okay?
You can.
And still look beautiful. Like, case in point. Were there any moments, I'm sure, maybe, that you started to question your choice to be a model?
Yeah, all the time still happens because of my career and because in terms of the marketing side of things, right? And because of how much I know that I help people, like my friends, every day I have someone that comes to me like, how do I reach out to this brand? What do I answer to this brand? How much should I charge? Or can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I'm actually good at it because I have a good eye for content and consumer behavior. I know what gets people's attention. And a lot of times I'm like, what would have happened if I just kept working, or if I had taken that PhD, or if I just go back to corporate, which right now I can't because my visa doesn't allow me to do that. But
Okay.
if I had done something different. And a lot of times I feel like it could have been better in terms of maybe success and money and this and that. But I am a creative person, and I think that modeling is how I keep that part of me alive. And the 2 times where I did work in an office for a company, I felt so unhappy because I had to do the same thing over and over again. It didn't make any sense to me. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I here talking numbers for someone else to get richer? Like, I don't, like I'm not happy. I'm not having fun. I'm not interested in this life. So sometimes I do question myself, what could have happened? but I know that I need, like, mainly when I film like music videos, I feel so free. Like I can be this character that I'm not gonna judge myself then because I'm a character.
You can step into like alter egos. That's like
Exactly.
my dream. I want to do like, I'm
It's
giving too much
amazing.
away now, but like I want to like, I would love to, you know, Erica Jane.
No.
She's on like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she's like a performer, but she steps into like an alter ego of hers when she's on stage, and I think that's so cool. Like,
It is
and I
amazing.
will say, I think women have that more than men do for some reason, but it's just not every female recognizes it and actually does something about it, I think.
Yeah.
But when you do, you feel very free and like
Yeah.
good. Oh, that's incredible. That's
It's
awesome.
amazing.
When did you start noticing changes in the industry, particularly with social media and branding?
100% with COVID.
During COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that process was already happening. Like I've been doing this UGC style of content for a lot of brands for a long time. But it's more like COVID, everybody was home, everybody was on their phones. So there's more opportunity for brands to use social media now. And then you're not going to have a whole production. So just send this to people's house and let them do a content with it. So it accelerated a lot.
You started at this point too, right?
Yeah.
And this was also when you're in the States and you have that issue with that booking woman,
Yeah.
right? And so you start to lean on social media,
Yeah.
and now you start to realize this is where this industry lags, but then this is where social media can be like this little gap
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
help models or people in your industry do more and be more,
Exactly.
right? So what did you end up doing with that?
So it was very interesting because first when I arrived here and I had like all that problem, COVID hits, and then I have an opportunity to be like, I wouldn't say like a host, they call the host, but it's more like just have live streamings every day. It was a Korean app. My followers from Instagram would go to that app every day, and I would just be there like for 1-2 hours a day, just talking about whatever.
So you were live streaming on a Korean app.
Yeah.
This was your way of growing on social media.
So this for me was like how I was able to bridge this gap
Okay.
of like, what do I do now?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then I started doing this, and I got a lot of like, it was like a very good pay. So I was doing basically like this live streaming. And then a lot of brands started joining. I think they noticed that creators work online in this platform. So they start seeing you and they start like, well, I like the way you talk on camera. Can you create a video for me? And then people start seeing you. And then after a while, I retired from that app because it started getting weird. Like, start like people dancing and weird stuff that I'm like, hey, I don't want to be here. Weird. So then I bounced back to Instagram because I'm like, okay, done with this Korean app. But then I got a lot of opportunities. I already have like a nice portfolio of videos that I could make. And I started reaching out to brands. So then I noticed which brands were using UGC creators. And I started sending them like, this is what I can do. Let's work together.
Oh.
So you're basically your own manager.
So this is this how you also grew as an influencer or a content creator, so to speak? So you are still modeling here and there as much as you can because you're in Miami right now and things didn't go too hot in the beginning. You see this gap, you're taking advantage of it. You go on the Korean app, then you come off of that, and now you're reaching out to brands that you see are using UGC content. What kind of work do you do with brands and marketing now?
So now I feel like I'm in this moment where I want to help people to reach what I was able to accomplish, right? So like,
is this other models you want to help?
Also.
Okay.
So example, there's this makeup artist girl that I'm helping now that she wants to be able to monetize her Instagram because she is great. But she says like, you know what? I'm a little tired of driving every week because she lives north to Miami Beach for like 2-3 hours and getting paid like this amount when I know that they would pay me this for one video at home. So I'm helping her to create content that will make her stand out to certain brands that will then hire her to do that. So basically, I am teaching her how to do what I did during COVID, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How do you balance now being a content creator, being a model, and being a strategist?
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. And the biggest thing at the moment is structure, right? So The problem is like you don't have someone to report to. Like you don't have someone to hold you accountable. Like you don't have to go to an office and you need to open the office because there are people waiting for you. So the biggest challenge here is the discipline of staying within this to-do list, like I have to wake up by this time and then I have to do this by this time. And it gets very confusing sometimes and overwhelming, but I am trying to work in different strategies every week. Like, okay, this week I'm going to do like this. Did it work? No. So let me do it the other way. And I'm still finding
You're
how
still trying to figure out your balance of
exactly.
all of
Yeah.
those. Do you currently have a partner?
Yes, I'm getting married.
Well, congratulations. Please tell us about him.
So this is one of the reasons why I say a lot of times I'm like, what would have happened if I didn't model, or what would have happened if I didn't leave Mexico? But knowing that I'm marrying him now, it's like everything was worth it. Like I would do it 10 times again.
I always say this. I'm like, you can never connect the dots forward in life. You have to live life, go through
And
it, and
then
you can
you
always
see.
connect the dots looking back.
Yeah, because when I was in school, I took like a semester in Canada, in Montreal, and he was in the same city at the same time, and we never met, right? Or for example, we worked out in the same gym for a long time and we never saw each other until I was single, he was single, and we both kind of like worked in a few things that we had to work on, and it was the perfect moment for us to meet.
Wow.
So I remember this day, I'm talking to my psychologist in the morning, and I tell her, like, I just give up on Miami. I'm never going to meet a decent man in this town. Like, they're all like this, they're all like that. It's not going to happen. And at the same time, I'm a person that if a man walks to talk to me, like in the supermarket, I will be like, no, bye, I'm out. I don't like people talking to me like out of nowhere. I feel uncomfortable. So she told me, okay, I'm going to give you like a homework. Whenever a person asks you out, you're going to go, even if it is just to learn things that you don't like, what you don't want in a relationship. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it. Okay. Then I go down to the gym because it was like on the bottom of my building. And the owner of the gym tells me like, Barbara, can I ask you a weird question? And I'm like, okay, what? And he's like, would you go on a blind date with my friend? He saw you the other day and then this and that. And I'm like, I guess I have to now. I already promised my psychologist.
Wow.
So we started talking and it was so fast. Like the way that we just, I know it's super cliche, but the way we just knew that was it. Yeah. And none of us believed in people when they said, when you know, you know. Mm-hmm. But it was exactly like that for us.
Really? When did you guys meet?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Oh, wow. How does being with him now in like a solid relationship, moving towards marriage now, influence your career, your personal goals, how you view yourself in the future with doing the marketing strategy stuff, modeling? Like, how is that? I'm sure it's influenced. Like, how has that changed everything for you?
Before I met him, I was always in survival mode, right? Because I had to provide for myself and I had to do everything else for me. Like working as a content creator, you create the content, you edit the content, you reach out to brands, you do everything. And at the same time, you need to be the one who is paying for everything in your house, who is providing for yourself. And that puts you in a survival mode because if someone offers you $100, you have to take it because you need it, right? So it's different being with a man who is like, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to take care of this thing so you can relax and you can actually focus on other things and get out of the survival mode and focus on my feminine energy to understand how do I learn to also receive, which has been a problem for both of us because we're both givers. So like, how do I receive without feeling that I'm not doing enough? Or how do I receive without thinking that I'm guilty because this other person is doing something for me, but I could do this for myself? So we had like this challenge, both of us. Sometimes we still struggle with it, but we are very communicative. Like we talk about these things and sometimes we say like, okay, this is hard for me. For him, for example, I love giving him massages. And sometimes it's like, of course I love a massage, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I'm abusing of your time. So I feel guilty, but I want it. But how do we manage this, right? And I tell him, listen, I feel like I can give you more love and I feel even more in love with you when I'm doing these things for you. So then he's like, oh, okay, so you can do it. And we
That's
just
adorable.
manage in that way. And in terms of career, is like we know things change when you become a mom, and I want to be present because my parents were always working. And I was basically raised by my nanny, and I don't judge them for that. I think this is the best that they could do, and it's great, it's fine. But I want to be present, and we already talked about it as to like, okay, I want to be able to be working with something that allows me to be close to my
To
family.
your family, yeah. Let's go back to when you said you're more of a giver and you have trouble receiving. Do you think that that stems from your like your childhood where you were expected to be a certain way, like go to school, go do this, go do that? Like there was like a perfectionism that was underlying there that now as an adult you feel like you always have something to prove or something to do, and if you're not bringing something to the table, then you're not worthy.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is like a mechanism that you just think that you have to do things for the other people so they know that you like them, or so they're not gonna change you for someone. It's not gonna.
Or even like you like me more, or I'm
Exactly.
lovable now because I did this,
Because I did
or I'm
this.
doing this. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
proving your
Proving, exactly, all the time. Like, okay, so if I do this, then he will remember that he loves me because I'm doing this for him. So these things are challenging, of course, and you have to learn how to deal with it as you get older. But I think this is one of the most important things, to be able to communicate with your partner, right? Like, listen, I do these things because I feel like I have to. So I need to hear from you that what are your expectations in this relationship, right? Like, what do you expect me to do or not to do? And what are our roles basically in the relationship? So that helps when you can see
communication,
that.
clear communication. And then you mentioned being a mom and wanting kids. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Would you be okay with your kids being models?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where you know what you've been through, and you know it can be cruel, and you know it can be very hard. But at the same time, I think I would do so many things different as a parent to help them to have a different personality or to have a different way to see themselves as I did, that maybe wouldn't affect them the way it affected me.
If they chose to be models. So
Exactly.
you're saying you would still support them if that's what they wanted to do?
I think I would, but
You'd equip them with all the
yeah,
necessary tools
it's
and
more
stuff.
like actually having a conversation and being super blunt as to how this industry actually works, right? Because it's not the glamour that everybody thinks it is.
No, it's not. Looking back, what is the biggest lesson you've learned through your entire, like all together in your life up until this point? What's the one lesson sticks out to you?
So I think that, again, as a people pleaser, I've done so many things in my life because it was the best thing for the other person. And in the moment that I realized that one day I'll be 90 years old and I'll look back and my life is just mine to think about, I think do things for you. Do things for yourself. Do things that makes you feel alive. That, of course, without crossing any limits and boundaries of other people, but things that will make you happy ultimately. Because otherwise, you are constantly just trying to make other people happy without thinking about you, and then you can pour from an empty cup. So
You fill yourself up first, and then I think you're your best self for everybody around you. You do a
exactly.
huge disservice, not just to yourself, but even the people that you love, when you're just this empty person, just giving, 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 giving. And, you know, I think this was very glorified in the past generations with moms, where the mom guilt and stuff. Now, listen, I speak from absolutely no experience, just from observing other people. And it's like you can do and be so much more when you take care of yourself first, though.
Yeah.
And also, I think if you have daughters, what are you teaching your kids? Learn by watching you, not by what you tell them.
1000%. Yeah.
You know, so your behaviors is, and I, this is like, this I can speak to because like I grew up watching my mom, giver to the T, does everything for everyone, still does. When it comes to her, even just simple things like facials and stuff. She has just now started to do that in the last, I would say, several years. But our entire life, she would never put herself first. And so then I, watching that, came across having those same patterns
Yeah.
in me. And I was like,
That's how you do it.
I caught
Yeah.
it pretty quickly, like in my 30s, I would say. I was like, no. Me first, then the
And everything
husband,
else.
then everything
Yeah.
else, and then this way. Because if I'm not happy, then this isn't going to sustain as long as
Yeah.
we would like it to. What advice would you give to someone starting in modeling?
I think that one thing that is very important for modeling is, when you meet someone and you say, well, the person is not necessarily that pretty, but she has something. That something is confidence. That's what attracts people to this someone that walks in the room and everybody looks at this person, not necessarily because they're the most good looking or they're taller or skinny or the best abs. It's because of the confidence. So I would work a lot on that. Work on your confidence, and I think things will flow much faster.
Do you have any tips for that on how
I think
somebody gets more
self
confident?
work, looking inside, is if you can't do it by yourself, have a psychologist. But
Right.
I think it's very important to look inside and understand if you're not confident, why you're not confident, and start treating that. Or like if you have people around you that don't make you feel confident, just don't hang out with
Don't
them
hang out with
anymore.
them. Yeah. I think it starts with self love. Like
Yeah.
knowing you're worthy and allowed to take up space in this world, in a relationship, in your life, in your family, in your workplace. Like I belong here and I'm, you know what I mean? Like I think worth and taking up space, people have a difficult time accepting that I can take up space too.
Yeah.
They allow others to be who they are and loud or however wish they, but then when it comes to them, they kind of like shrink away. And it's like, no, be you. And when you do that though, you're also helping the other people around you who maybe are shrinking themselves too. It's like you're paving a way for people. And that's kind of motivating and empowering, I think,
Exactly.
you know? How do you define success today compared to what success meant to you 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
I think 10 or 15 years ago, I thought by 28, I was going to be a mom. I thought, right. I thought I was going to have 5 kids.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. Yeah, it was what I wanted. I wanted to be a young mom because my mom had me at 36. And then I felt like maybe because of that, she didn't have a lot of patience. So, I thought that was the reason. And I'm like, well, I need to be a young mom then. That's going to solve all my problems. And I thought, like, having worked with this many brands and been on these magazines, and now I honestly just think that being myself, knowing who I am, and getting to know myself more and more is what I define as success in terms of like emotional intelligence. Like this for me, the most interesting people, they're like emotionally intelligent. Forget about everything else. Like this is the most important thing, because then you can understand other people's perspective, and you see life in a different way. But you need to know yourself first. So
I couldn't agree with you more. I think you can. They're like, when they say like you don't have to be the smartest person in the room or the richest person in the room or the one with the most connections. There is something that some people have where they still beat you to something. They're more successful than everybody else, but you're like, what do they have that, I have more than this person? And I think it's emotional intelligence. I think when they walk in and know I can do a deal, I can walk in and I can get something signed. I know that I can manage this team of 10, 15, 20, 30 people. Like it's just this managing your emotions, not suppressing them, not overriding them, also not being at the beckoning call of them and just, spitting out on everyone else, but more just like being able to use that and almost get out. I always think like get outside of yourself
yeah,
and then like walk in the world, if that makes any sense. I think those are the people that make it.
exactly.
I totally agree. What are your aspirations for this next phase of your career?
So I really want to help people to have like some sort of mentorship that I didn't have, because I think I was part of a moment in social media where we were still figuring things out, right? Like when I start growing in social media, there wasn't a lot of people doing that. So now we already have knowledge. We already know what works and don't work. We know the struggles mainly. And I think now what I would like to is to be able to be this person who helps people who are starting not to go to the struggles that I've been through.
Are you speaking just strictly for models, or just anybody who's trying to be a model or trying to get into social media? It's all
Yeah,
across
social
the board.
media, content creation, even brands, who struggle with social media. Because there was this time where we are obsessed with numbers, right? How many followers, how many views, how many likes, and this is gone.
It's gone. And I
gone.
wish people could understand this. Just the other day, someone said this to me, like, "Oh, but I have this many followers now, and I'm getting to." And I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like,
I delete followers.
so do I. You have to look on the back end. It's not the same. And it's like, you also, what sucks is that you see other people who don't know anything about the social media space judging your stuff based on likes and posts and stuff. And I'm like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I can have 10 likes here, but this could be doing something else for me on the back end. That's
exactly. And
way
also,
more.
our behavior as a consumer in social media changed a lot. For example, now you see a video and you save it to do it later. Let's say it's a makeup tutorial.
Yeah.
Or it's funny, so you send it to your friend, but you don't like it anymore. You just keep scrolling. So the like ratio like went very, very, very low in terms of like views and likes. And a lot of people still didn't understand that. And then you keep judging yourself based on how many likes you've got or views or.
Yeah. And just like the stories we were talking about earlier before we started recording, is you post one story a day, it gets like a gazillion views. You post consistently, it just doesn't get anything anymore. And it's all about the algorithm. It's not really, I agree with that. These are some of my personal questions that I wanted to ask you. What do you do for yourself that you always make sure you do for yourself that makes you happy or brings you joy? Like, this is Barbara giving to herself.
When I drive to the gym every day, I have to put like music that I like and just, sing and be like, there's nobody watching me. I'm just being myself.
That's beautiful. If somebody told you that you could not model anymore or be in social media, what would you do? What would you be doing?
I would focus totally on the marketing side of things.
Only marketing?
Yeah.
Would you want your own marketing agents? Like, is that the way right?
Yeah, I would like focus on an agency and do that.
What was the happiest or most memorable, positive time in your life? It could be an event, it could be a day, it could be a moment.
I think the most important moment of my life so far was the day my fiance proposed, because it's just like, and I don't mean this in a weird way, it's just like a relief of knowing that everything just fell into place. Like, I don't have to keep chasing anything. I don't have to think, am I in the right place? What is going to happen? Like, now it's kind of like a sense of control, right? Like, I know this is going to happen now. It's for real. So I can relax.
You can relax now. Yeah. And you don't have to be in survival mode either. Like,
no.
You have a partner in life with you.
A partner, yeah.
To ride the ups and downs of life. You can relax a bit and just like take time. I mean, you've been working since you were, in essence, 12, right? 12 and 16. Like, it's like okay for you to just be for a minute here. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved talking to you. I learned so much.
Likewise.
You're an amazing person. You're so beautiful inside and out.
Loved it. You too.
Where can my audience connect with you and find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram as Barbara Boller, TikTok as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.